week's main topic discussion, I really feel like I don't have any right speaking on, but that could be my imposter syndrome speaking. Yes. So we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is kind of a new term. I don't know if a lot of people have heard it as vastly as I have, but I connect with and do a lot of connecting with people who struggle with a lot of different mental illnesses and struggles, and things that they're trying to learn how to navigate that some would say are holdbacks or negatives or things of that nature. Things that you seek counsel in with other people because they're hard to navigate on your own. And one of those things that I have been hearing about a lot lately is imposter syndrome. Now, I will admit imposter syndrome is something that is also newer to me, and I didn't know that this thing that I had an actual very relatable name, and that is imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome, if you look it up, I'm going to read you guys the main description, and that is, imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. That is something that I heavily struggle with. And as we kind of navigate through our lives and people begin to share more across social media, it's kind of easier to learn about the things that you may need to research and look into in regards to your own mental health. And imposter syndrome, when it came on the scene, it's really self-explanatory, right? To feel like an imposter, to be an imposter, but to feel like an imposter in your own life and in your own mind can definitely be a heavy struggle. And for me, it makes a lot of sense that I struggle with this if I look at my background, because I very much always had a lot of direction and control over my life by other people. So I think that when other people direct and control your life, when you take control and try to direct your own life, you can feel like an imposter, like you do not know what you're doing, that you shouldn't be in control, that you're not capable, that anything you do is kind of a faux version of something you don't even really know about. And I think, when I started into pinup modeling and I created the vintage doll, I think that was the first time that I ever really felt like I was in control of something in my own life and in my own identity and in my own interests. And I think that's why it gave me so much confidence and courage and determination in continuing in this thing that I love so much, because I, for the first time, felt like I wasn't a fake. I wasn't a phony. And I still feel like a fake and a phony in a lot of things that I do, in business, for instance. I had a really interesting conversation with a other content creator, and you guys are going to get the opportunity to hear that conversation because it's going to be posted on their YouTube channel here coming up this week. And spoiler, it's my husband. Yes, that's right. The doll is doing a collaborative video with her husband. Now, my husband is a real estate consultant. He's been in the real estate business for over 20 years, and he's really knowledgeable in business and investing and real estate and helping other people guide their businesses, and in all facets. He is the total opposite of me. Maybe that's why him and I do so well together, right? Because they say opposites attract. And we're alike in everything except when it comes to business, because I feel like such an imposter. I don't feel like I have any right to be in control of anything of importance. I feel very incapable. My kid asked me, how do I feel about being an adult? And I said, it's really weird because I don't feel like an adult. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I haven't been adulting for very long. It wasn't until I got a divorce and I went back to work and I really started gaining the ability to make decisions in my own life that I really started having to be an adult, because everything else was in a very controlled environment. And there was not a lot of choices that I was given the opportunity to make. And then, my home life was very much the same when it came to my parental upbringing. Once we moved to Oklahoma, I had a mother that was very controlling in how she felt like people should live their lives. So, you know, every move that you make is kind of dictated by somebody else's feelings or emotions on those choices. So you tend to not really make honest choices for yourself because you're constantly trying to reflect what other people want you to do. So the more that I was put in charge of my own choices and destiny, the more I had to actually become an adult and really deal with situations and handle things on my own as my own personal entity over my future and my decisions and my choices. And so it hasn't been a very long time for me. We're talking less than 10 years. So less than 10 years of really being an active adult in my own life. And that's not a very long time if you think about time, you know what I mean? And it's been really difficult. And imposter syndrome is something that I struggle with very greatly because I just feel like I don't measure up in anything. I'm not up to par with where anybody is supposed to be when it comes to making big choices, when it comes to making knowledgeable choices, serious choices, important choices. I always feel like I'm a great sounding board. Like if people want to come to me and be like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, yeah, if that's what you want to do, let's go ahead and do that. So when it comes to making moves in my own life, there's a lot of times where I very much feel like an imposter, where I feel like I have no real knowledge or capability of deciding or figuring things out. And that can be a really hard thing to do, you know, and deal with as a grown person, because you have to have confidence and you have to have, you know, a connection and identity to self in the choices that you make. And when you feel like you don't have a right to do them, or you're not knowledgeable to doing them, or you're a fraud in what you're doing, or a phony, and it can really be something that hinders your progression. So it's something that I work very heavily on in my healing process and in my growth process. Like I say, I'm healing, not healed. I have not reached the finish line by any stretch of the imagination. And imposter syndrome can be a really difficult thing. So I'm going to bring this up really quick, and we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome cycle, because I think that these kinds of things are important and they kind of help us connect with things that we might be dealing with internally. And it's like I said, imposter syndrome is something that's kind of newer that people are talking about because there was never really a title for it. It's not something that I ever, up until the past few years, it was never something that I really heard about as far as like mental health and dealing with situations and like working it out. It may be somebody who has like an active therapist or something like that is really familiar with it. But for a lot of people, I don't think that if you don't have a therapist, if you don't talk to professionals, these types of terms aren't necessarily always known. You might have been hearing it in passing. You hear people say, I have imposter syndrome, or I feel like I'm an imposter, or things of that nature. So that might be something that you have heard. But that's why I like to talk about these things on my show. This little gnat has been flying around in my episodes for several weeks now. I don't know how he's surviving, but you do you, boo. You know, you have been here long enough that this is your zip code. So I feel bad just like taking him out. But if you guys see him, it's not a ghost. It's just my little gnat friend. We have gnats here in Texas this time of year because it's so moist outside. But I think it's really important that we talk about these things, because the more that we talk about them and the more familiar we get and the more comfortable we get with talking about them, it's easier for us to process them and heal, but it's also easier for us to help others, and it's also easier for us to be more empathetic towards others if it's not something we struggle with personally. So the imposter syndrome cycle: a new project or task, anxiety, procrastination, or over preparation. That's me. Whenever I'm about to take on a project or a task, I get a lot of anxiety, and I procrastinate really bad because I feel like my capability of taking on said projects, who am I? So like working with brands sometimes can give me a lot of anxiety because I feel like, who am I to even be capable of being a collaborative person in a project, right? What do I have to offer? You know, I'm a content creator. This is just what I do. Like, don't acknowledge me for being good at what I do, because who am I? I don't know what I'm doing, right? This is just what I do. And I really discredit my capabilities and what I can provide to people. And I'm trying to work on that because I'm good at what I do. I am capable of what I do. I work really hard at what I do, and I've been doing it for over a decade. So I have a lot of knowledge in what I do. And I shouldn't doubt myself because I very much am capable. Project completion, a brief relief, and sense of accomplishment. That's very, very true, because once I finish a project, once I finish editing a video and finally put it out, I feel like, yes, I did it. I'm good. I'm done. I can feel accomplished in that moment. I did a good job. I can give myself a pat on the back, but leading up to it was so overwhelming. Rationalization, I was lucky or somebody else would have done a better job. I think about that a lot. You know, in the line of work that I'm in, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people out there who do what I do now because it's a very trendy and mainstream job to be a creator, to be an influencer. So I'm always comparing myself to literally every other creator out there, thinking that, you know, it makes sense that somebody's working with that person because they're so good at what they do. They should talk to them about it. Why are you in my inbox? Like, when Urban Decay and Hard Candy and Ciate London, you know, these are big cosmetic brands, and they send me PR packages because they like the content that I create and they want to have me continue to create content and support their brands and be an influencer and ambassador for their brands. And they provide me with these tools to create content because they like my content. You know, that should be enough, but my imposter syndrome immediately is like, I don't deserve these. Why do I have these? Why are you sending me these? I'm not good enough to create for, you know, so it can be really difficult to get over that when there's so many people out there also creating content. I tend to hold myself to whatever they're doing versus what I know I can do. And what I can do is just as good. I'm a great creator too, but it can be really hard to accept that and stop letting that voice in the back of your head tell you other people are better than you are, so why are you even trying? Increase self-doubt, anxiety, and feeling like a fraud. That 100% is me. Anytime I'm given an opportunity or a job or a collaboration or people reach out to me, I immediately get very anxious and I doubt what I can bring to the table. And I struggle with getting that under control to be able to have a professional conversation sometimes, because this increasing self-doubt takes over. And I feel like I've been doing my work for such a long time in this way. It's like this vicious cycle where everything, you know, just, this is how it works, right? Somebody reaches out, I panic, I don't think I'm good enough, I don't even try to put a proposal on the table because why would they pay me? Why would they want to move forward with me? Who am I to even ask? I'm not worth this. I'm a fraud, right? I don't even know this is just what I do. Why would you don't need to pay me. I'm not worth this. So imposter syndrome can be something that affects you greatly in, did you see it kiss me on the cheek? It's like, thank you for not killing me. I don't know if y'all can see this gnat, but when I edit my videos, I can see this gnat and it drives me crazy. So y'all have to be able to see this. I'm not that kind of crazy. I'm crazy in a lot of ways. That kind of crazy. So imposter syndrome is definitely something that can infiltrate your life and your relationships and your work and projects and your passions and your things that you get involved in. So one of the things that I would recommend that you do is just, it's something that I've said in the past. There was a video of Lady Gaga, and I'm not a Hollywood like worshiper. I'm not somebody who really looks up to a lot of big time people. I like who I like, I dislike who I dislike, but I definitely don't put a lot of stock in what a lot of people in the media say, because I feel like a lot of that is just impostorial as well. But I did see a video of Lady Gaga, and she said somebody had asked her about her work. And she had said, when people ask me about when they say your music is great or they like this video that I did, she says, I take the time to thank them and say, thank you. Thank you for caring about this. It is great, right? I worked hard on this. This is an amazing piece of art that I created, and I take the time to be thankful that they are taking the time to let me know that they understood it and that they love it and that they enjoyed it, because you did work hard on it. You should be proud of it. You should take the time to acknowledge what you're capable of and what you can do and what you're good at and your abilities. And I think that you have to change your way of thinking when it comes to things like imposter syndrome, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to these things, because they are very, very festering. They infiltrate your mind, they infiltrate how you think, and then ultimately that infiltrates how you speak, how you handle situations, how you move forward. So I think that you also need to learn how to change that. So when you take the time to say, this is a great thing that I did work hard on this, I am good at my job, I do work really hard in my relationship. I think that when you start to stop and take the time to actively make these proclamations, it kind of helps retrain your thought process. It's something that's really difficult. It's something that's really hard, and it's not going to be something that just goes away. It's something that I deal with constantly. It's something that I'm still navigating, and I don't have any easy answers. But if you're somebody dealing with imposter syndrome, if you're somebody who struggles with these things, and you need somebody to talk to about it, make sure you check out my information below, where you can book a one-on-one coffee date with me, because I would be happy to sit down and take some time to talk to you about the things that you're struggling with, and maybe we can kind of come to some type of balance and at least come to a place where you feel supported and heard, and I would be very happy to book some time with you. So that's going to be about our main topic discussion. We are now going to move on to what's one of my favorite parts of the show, and that is the Doll Fam topic choice question, where you guys ask a question and I answer and talk about something that you guys want to hear me talk about. So that's what we're going into next.